This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We're continuing in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua, Siman Lamed Beis, Sif Chav Zayin. Siman Lamed Beis, Sif Chav Zayin. Oisiyos v'tevois shenimchaku ktsas. You have letters and words that were slightly rubbed out. Im rishuma nikar kolkach. If their impression is recognizable enough. Shetinoik, that a child, Deloy Chakim, Veloy Tibish, is not wise, he's not foolish, Yachal Akroisan, then it may not be kosher as is. Mutter l'haver kulmas alem. You could darken it. Lahetiv aksav l'chadshay v'loy havik shaloi kesidran. You can darken a. So it's it's interesting. Children have a purpose in this world. They Siman Lamed Beis. Now we know why Hashem. But why didn't Hashem just make people? It's a good question. Hashem should have. You have a baby, Mazel Tov, and then at the birth. First of all, if the kid is 15 years old when he's born, it's not going to be so easy in the beginning. But besides that, children have many purposes. Siman, what are they? Siman Lamed Beis Sif Chaf Hey, Siman Lamed Beis Sif Chaf Vav, Siman Lamed Beis Sif Chaf Zayin. But if the kid could read it, you could darken the letter. Okay. Let us see Mishna Berura Sif Katan Kuf Chaf Ches. Here we go. Shenimcha Ktsas. Perosh, shehalach me'al ha'oisius ktsas mara hadiyoshalahan. Some of the gleam of the letter left. Here, I have this over here. I assume it's this pig is beis over here. The word bechar, some of the shine, the darkness left. Vim betchilas haksiva. If in the beginning of the writing, lo haya hadiyoy shachar. So this is one. Let's say in the beginning of the writing was not black. It was whitish that became very faint. It's like white or red. Then have a shaloi kesidron, because it was never written correctly in the beginning. It was never written properly in the beginning. Aval Bahai, in our case, it's not considered shaloi kesidron. Why? Even now it's kosher. That's the vart in why you could darken it. You could darken it when even now the ksav is kosher. And that which you're adding to it, you're just preserving it. It's insurance. Shaloi yismachik yoser, so it doesn't get more erased. That's if part of the ink is still extant. But if all the ink has jumped off, like in diagram 3 bays, all the ink, it's just a reddish tinge from the rust of the ink. This is a problem of shaloi kesidron. Therefore, if let's say some of the length of the vav rubbed off, and there you only have some remnant of rust. Now what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to show it to a child whether the part of ink that remains is enough for it to be a tzuras havav. Utzrichim laharoisai. You're going to have to show lahatinoik im yesh b'chelek ha'elyon shir vav. Then we say cover up the faint red part, because that's not really that we can't allow that to affect the perspective of the child. You have to cover up the lower part so that the child doesn't join it together. Similar to what we wrote earlier in Sivkatan Memches. V'da, you should know further. V'da oid. The das ha-prima gadam hu. The opinion of the Prima Gadim is da afilu nishar mamashos diyai. The opinion of the Prima Gadim is that even if you have mamashos of ink, rak sheniklav shachrus ha'elyon. So it's not just you're left with like a stain, but you have actual ink, but the top layer of blackness was peeled off. The nishar adom, and now it's red. Havishaloi kesidram. Why? The oidem ain't kosher l'tfilin. Red is not. This is not a paraduma. Tefillin and paraduma are different mitzvahs. The tefillin red is not a good kosher color. That's the opinion of the Pri Megadim. Avalach sam soifer b'chelik yeradeh b'siman reish navav palagalaf v'soifer demashinoi la'admumis humachmas yoishen. Sam soifer holds that if the transformation into red is because of the age, hareu kosher shahareu nichtav b'diyai. It was written with ink. Ulahachi nemar, and this is why it was said hahalacha lichta b'diyai lahayrois tzrichi rak lahaksav b'diyai. It has to be written with ink. V'kach darko sharoiv diyai l'chshe yazkin yechem arisai. Most ink, when it ages, it turns red. V'yishapich tzas le'adamdam. It turns a little red. B'nasa ke'in mara. Shekam lashon brown. So Sam Sofer says, why is it any different than a beard? A beard also. Even when it turns white, it's still a beard. What do you mean? That's not how it grew. It's show the beard is now shaloi kesidra. The answer is that's what happens to a beard after a while. So that's what happens, says Sam Sofer, to ink. Mikamakam toiv laha aviroi b'komas. Sam Sofer says it's still a good idea to cover it over with the black ink. Va'afilu b'shemas hakadoshim karv levadei demuter. Even by the names of Hashem, it's almost certain that it's mutter kediyai agabe diyai, like ink on top of ink. The ink on mechika, it's not considered racing. V'im neshtanul oida mamish. If the mamish turns to red, she'en kin darken shel stam diyai. If it's unusually red, ayafilu rak la'admumis. Or even if it's just reddish, rak she'neshtanu miyad mahir lachar ksiva, but it happened quickly. Ein takana is the Sefer Torah. Some Sefer agrees there's no way to fix that Sefer Torah. Shenira she'ena machmas yoshen. It's clear it's not because of its old age. V'al yesh chesaron be'ikar hadiyai. There's an issue with the ink. Shenasis misamanam achirim. It was made from the wrong ingredients. V'al kein pasal me'ikara, and it was inferior and disqualified from the beginning. Kilei nichta b'diyai. It was not written with ink. Uv'shemois asal havalav diyai. And a shem Hashem you cannot add ink afterwards. Ayin shem shemarach b'cholza milsa b'taima, where the Chavetz Chaim seems to be inclined to say that the Chassam Sofer's approach is very reasonable. Namely, that if it just turns red because of old age, that's standard. But if it turns absolute red, or if it turns reddish quickly, that means it wasn't written properly from the beginning. Okay, B'ez Hashem, tomorrow we'll continue in Sif Chavches. Thank you everybody for joining. Wish everybody a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.